Average Homesteaders. Today we're going to can beef stew. Now, if you look on YouTube, you're going to see people with various different recipes for their canning of beef stew. Some are very simple, just meat and a few vegetables, some hot water, and then you pressure can it and you're done. And others put a few more ingredients in their beef stew. Today, we're going to can beef stew using stew meat, potatoes, and your potatoes have to be peeled, by the way. Make sure you do that. Onions, carrots, and my wife put a special request to have some green beans thrown in there too. So what Mama wants, she gets. The broth that we're going to use is made up of beef broth, Lipton onion dry soup recipe, pepper, garlic, and we're also going to add sea salt. Make sure it's non-iodized sea salt. And the vinegar is used for cleaning the lids, the top of your jars, and a little bit in the pressure canner. Okay, let's get started. What you're going to need is a canning kit. You can get these at any Walmart, dollar store, and they consist of a funnel, a magnet grabber, a spatula, a jar grabber, and that's about it. We're going to use these jar tongs, a funnel, the spatula. These little marks on the spatula can be used for measuring headspace, by the way. To get 1 inch headspace, you measure just like that. And also the magnet. My jars are quartz. They've already been washed, cleaned with soap water, and I put them in the oven at 200 degrees for about 15 minutes to heat them up. They are warm. So let's go. First you're going to put in your meat. And I'm going to put the meat in all the jars first so we can evenly distribute it. Now some people use regular meat from a cow. Some use wild game. It's basically up to you what you use. You can cut this up any consistency that you prefer. Okay, my meat has been distributed evenly. I'm going to move on to the next item, which is potatoes. Now potatoes and the meat usually take up the most space in your beef stew. So make sure you cut up enough potatoes. And again, don't forget, skin's off. These potatoes have been soaking in water just to keep them from going brown on me. And the one good thing about beef stew is you can do anything with it. You can put whatever you want with it. As long as it's cannable, as far as the vegetable goes, have at it. If you like more potatoes than anything to give it substance, then put as much you want in your jars. Well, as I said, there's many different ways of doing this. This is just going to be mine. You can add and subtract anything. The potatoes. Next we're going to put carrots, These carrots are baby carrots. They came out of my garden. Potatoes came out of my garden. The onions came out of my garden. And the green beans also were from my garden, this year's crop. A lot of people put celery in with their beef stew. I don't like celery, so that's why you're not going to see it in this batch. You can see how quick this is going together. It is super simple, and later on when you go to eat it, it is going to be amazing. Okay, last item we're going to add is green beans. Some people even put peas. Okay, we have all of our jars filled. I had to cut a few more potatoes just to add it to it, but this already looks pretty good. Okay, the next thing you want to do is get your broth into the jars. Before you do that, when you are filling your jars, you want to leave an inch head space, basically at this line and up. Have no vegetables, no liquid, nothing. And that's what's referred to your head space, space between here and your lid. Now your broth, you want to have that heated up and very hot when you put it in your jars. Now fill up, remember to leave that inch of head space. Okay, once you get your broth in all your jars, you want to take your spatula and move it around your jars, looking for any air pockets. Just move it around a little bit and you'll get them. Okay, next I'm going to add teaspoon of salt. Now you can add the salt whenever you want. You can put it on the bottom of your empty jars or put it in last, in the middle. It doesn't matter. Okay, the jars are totally filled now. What you want to do is get a paper towel, dip it in a little bit of white vinegar, and clean the top of your jars. You want to make sure you don't have any residue, salt. And the vinegar itself will help clean, since you're using meat, any fat that might have got on top of the jars as you were putting the meat in. Okay, it's time to put your lids on. Now in the past, people would heat their lids up, put them in a little pot on the oven, let that boil or get really hot to warm up the seals on the lids. With these modern lids, you don't need to do that anymore. But you should clean them, your lids and rings, before you use them though. Now tightening down the lids to your jars. You do it finger tight. You don't want to over tighten them. Okay, they're ready to go in the pressure canner. Now my pressure canner is on the stove. The water is warm. It's just starting to steam just a little bit. Most pressure canners, if not all, call for 2 inches of water at the base. And you also have your tray in there. You don't want to put your jars directly on the bottom of the pressure canner. They come with these discs, these metal disc trays, and you set your jars on that. You also want to inspect your pressure cooker. Make sure your gauge is not all wonky, that the needle's on 0, and your vent. You want to be able to either see through or blow some air through the vent to make sure that's working properly. And your plug right here, you want to make sure that's in place. Okay, place your jars in the pressure cooker. This pressure cooker is old. It was made between the years of 1948 and 1950 or 52. And I have a newer pressure cooker, and to be honest with you, I like this one better. I did refurbish it, and one of my videos shows how I did that. And I got this pressure cooker at an auction for next to nothing, and it was very inexpensive to refurbish. Okay, get your pressure canner lid lined up. Close it. Turn up your heat. You don't want to put your heat on full blast hot. Let your pressure canner slowly get up to temperature. You're going to know you're about there when the vent starts venting. It's on, you can't miss it. And once you notice it start venting pretty aggressively, you set a timer for 10 minutes and then you put your weight on. At this time, the weight remains off. Okay, the pressure canner is venting, so let's set our timer for 10 minutes. I'm going to let it vent for 10 minutes and then we'll put the weight on. Okay, its pressure cooker is vented for 10 minutes, so we're going to put the weight on. And now we pay attention to the pressure gauge. We want to get it up to 10 pounds for my region. Different areas as far as above sea level have different levels of pressure. Just be aware of what you are supposed to maintain for your region. Okay, we're right at 10 pounds pressure. I'm going to set my timer for 90 minutes. Our beef stew's been in the pressure canner for 90 minutes. The time is up. Turn your heat off. Slide your canner off the heat. Now you're going to let your canner sit until the pressure gauge gets down to 0. It can take about 45 minutes to an hour. Do not open it at now. Do not take the vent cover off. Okay, the pressure canner is cooled down. Just took off the vent, nothing vented out. Remove your lid. Lift up, away from your body. Let all the steam go away from your body so it doesn't blast you in the face. Get your jars. They all look real good. Now you leave your jars alone for about 24 hours. They'll cool down slowly. You'll hear their lids pop. It could be as soon as 5 minutes from now. After 24 hours, you can take the rings off, test the seals, label them, put them on your shelf, and then enjoy them. Thanks for coming along.